This is paper 2, June 2010. Question 1, complete this shopping bill. So 2.5 kilograms of potatoes and it's £1.14 per kilogram. So just times those and you'll get the total price for the potatoes. And then 8 lemons at 28p each, times those, and £2.24 is the total price of the lemons. And then total those up, 5.9p. You've got your calculator, so that should be straightforward. Then part B, how many books costing £3.75 each can be bought for £20? So you could round this up to about £4 and then do it sort of by guessing that 4 goes into £25, so you must be able to only buy about 5 of them. Or the proper way to do it would be 20 divided by £3.75, and that works out at 5.333. And then that would mean that you can buy just 5 books. Number 2, complete the table of equivalent fractions, decimals and percentages. So the first one is done for you. So a quarter of 100 is 25%, and then 25% is 0.25. Just put the 25 after a 0. 1/5 of 100 is 20, because 100 divided by 5 is 20. 5 20s get you 100. And then 20% would be 0.20, or else just 0.2. Just put the 20 after the 0. Then 13 out of 100 is 13%, or 0.13. And then the last one, 0.05, would be just 5%, which is the same as 5 out of 100. And then you can either leave it as 5 out of 100 or simplify it down to 1 over 20. It didn't say that you had to simplify it, so it's okay if you haven't. Number 3, on one day the temperatures at 3 AM in 4 cities are recorded. Which city has the highest temperature? So the warmest one there would be 6 for Rome. And then which city has the lowest temperature? That would be -10 for New York. Then part B says the wind chill tells you how much colder you feel because of the wind. So it's worked out by doing the temperature that it is whenever you're not in the wind, and then include the wind chill factor, and then that will be the temperature that you actually feel then whenever you're in the wind. So the first one was done for you. If the temperature is 5 degrees and then the wind chill takes it down by 6, it will feel like -1 degrees to you when you're in the wind. Then if it's -2 and the wind chill takes it down another 7, it will feel like it's -9 degrees. Then this one, if it feels like -10 degrees and that's because the wind chill factor has taken it down by 11, that means that it must have been 1 to start off with before the wind chill factor brought it down to -10. So -10 up 11 will bring you up to 1. And then the last one, -2, and then how far down would you have to go for it to feel like -12? You would need to go down 10. So the wind chill factor would need to make it 10 degrees colder to bring you right the way down to -12. Number 4, draw the reflection of the shape in the mirror line. You might be able to do this without tracing paper and just flip it over, and because there's a gap of 1 square there, make a gap of 1 square below the line and remember to draw it back to front. If you need tracing paper, ask for it in the exam. So trace out the shape, trace out the mirror line, and then the reflection will just be like flipping that over. So turn it back to front and make sure that you put the line of symmetry back on top of the line again, and that will move the shape for you. Number 5, the cost of hiring a boat is given by the formula hourly cost multiplied by number of hours. So the hourly cost is £7.50. That just means it's £7.50 an hour to hire this boat. So if you hire it for 3 hours, do £7.50 times 3 and the cost is £22.50. And then the next one you're going in reverse. It tells you that they pay £37.50. How many hours did they hire it for? So do £37.50 divide by the price per hour, divide by £7.50, and that will tell you 5 hours. Or you can just go up in 7.50s until you get to £37.50. Either way. Number 6, they give you some information here and ask you to complete the bar chart. So it's an unusual one, this, where the bars are already drawn for you and they just want you to label the bars and put the scale up the side. So the biggest number in the table is 20 for calculator, so that means that the biggest bar in the graph must be for the calculator. Then the next one is the smallest one, it's only 5, so it's the first bar for rulers. and then the next one, pencils, is 15, and then your numbers up the side, 20 for calculator, 5 for ruler, 15 for pencil, so then the one in between that must be 10. They said to remember to include the scale on the vertical axis, so they're talking about that one there. And make sure that you've said that it's numbers sold up the side, and that you've labelled the 3 bars at the bottom, and that you've called them item as well. Number 7, write down the coordinates of A, B and C. So your coordinates, you go across and then up or down. So A, you go across to 2 and up to 4, so 2, 4. B, you go across to -3 and up to 1, so -3, 1. And C, you go across to -1 and down to -1, so -1, -1 for that coordinate. You always go across and then up or down. Then they say for you to join the points, make a triangle. What's the name of the triangle? Whenever you join those up, that side is the same as that. And because it's got 2 sides that are the same length, that means that it's an isosceles triangle. So isosceles is your answer for that one. Then write down the coordinates of the midpoint of BC. Midpoint just means the middle point between B and C. So there's the line BC. The midpoint would be there, halfway in between them. So that's the point -2, 0. So your coordinate -2, 0. Then number 8. You've got the start of a sequence. They ask you for the next 2 terms. These numbers are going down by 3 each time. So after 40, you'd have 37 and then 34. And then the rule for continuing the sequence is just take away 3. Then you've got another sequence, and the pattern that's going on here is that they're going down 7, and it asks you for the first negative number. So just keep going down by 7 until you come to a negative number. You can even use your calculator for this. Just keep typing in take away 7, take away 7, take away 7, and so on. And the first negative number that you come to is -6. Then it says that the first sequence is also continued. The 2 sequences have the number 43 in common. What is the next number that the 2 of them will have in common? So after the 34 then, I just kept going down in 3s until I found a number that matched up with this sequence. So after the 34 then, just keep going down 3, down 3, down 3, and you come across 22, which is also in that sequence. So 22 is your answer. Number 9, the quadrilateral ABCD is drawn accurately. What's the special name for it? It is a rhombus, and the reason that you know that is because all the sides are the same length. A kite has 2 short sides and 2 long sides, and in a trapezium, none of the sides necessarily have to be the same length. These 2 here at the side might be, but they don't have to be. So that's a rhombus. Then I'm just thinking another reason you could have given for that is that the top and bottom are parallel as well. The top and bottom are parallel, and this side and this side are parallel, whereas you don't have that for either a kite or a rhombus. They don't have 2 pairs of parallel sides. Then 9b, measure the length AC and give your answer in millimetres. So between A and C then, if you measure the length of that line, it's about 4.3 or 4.4, but that's centimetres, and millimetres are the wee tiny ones in between that. So that would be 43 millimetres or 42 that allow you to be a wee bit out there. Then it says that another quadrilateral has all the angles 90, and they ask you which 2 quadrilaterals they could be. They could only be a square or a rectangle. Doesn't matter which order you've got those in. Number 10a. Which of the following would be the most appropriate height for an adult male? 180 centimetres. So that's nearly 200 centimetres, so that's nearly 2 metres. And 2 metres is the normal height for a door. So that's not far off the height for a male. That would be too small, and these ones here would be too big. Part B, the height of Nelson's column in Trafalgar Square in London is 52 metres, and they want you to change that into feet, and they give you the conversion that 1 metre is 3.25 feet. So if you know what 1 metre is and you want to change 52 metres, just times that number there by 52 and you get 169. Number 11 is an easy one. Calculate the mean of these 8 numbers. So the mean is where you add them all up and divide by how many there are. So just show that you add them up to get 44, divide by 8 because there's 8 of them, and you get 5.5. Number 12 is all to do with using different combinations of 20p's and 50p's. So Abigail has a pile of 20p coins and 50p coins, and she uses different combinations of them to make different totals. So two 20p coins, the first one was done for you. Two 20p coins would be 40p, six 50p coins would be £3, and then the £3 and the 40p would get you £3.40. This one here was left out. So if you start over at this side, three 20p coins would get you 60p, and then do the total of 310, take off the 60p, leaves you with £2.50 made up of 50p coins, and five 50p's would get you £2.50. The last row then, this one was missing. So 590 is your total, and it says here that you've got 9 50p's, and that's 450. So 590 take 450 leaves you with 140 made up out of 20p's, and 7 20p's would get you 140. 12b, explain why Abigail cannot make a total of 650 using just 20p coins. That's because 20p doesn't go into 650. You could make 640 or 660, but not 650, not using 20p coins. 12c, list the 4 ways that Abigail can make a total of £3 just using 50p's and 20p's. So she could use all 50p's, so you'd need 6 50p's to make up £3. Or she could use a combination of 50p's and 20p's. You can't have 5 50p's, because then that would leave you having 50p to make up out of 20p's, and you can't have that. So below 6 50's it would have to be 4 50p's. That would make up £2, which means you've got £1 left to make up out of 20p's, and 5 20p's would make up £1. The next one then, if you go down some more 50p's, so 2 50p's would get you £1, which leaves you with £2 made up out of 20p's, and 10 20p's make up £2. The last option then is just to make it all out of 20p's, so 15 20p's would get you £3, because 5 20p's make up £1. Number 13, this shape is made from squares. One square is added to the shape to give one line of symmetry. Show 2 different ways that this can be done. So you could have a line of symmetry down the middle, and that one would go over there then. Or you could have a line of symmetry going across, and that one would go up there. You can use tracing paper if you need to for that one. Number 14, the cost for one person to go to a concert is made up of 3 parts: travel, meals and tickets. 4 people share a car to go to a concert, and they pay £20 each for the travel, and then the meals are a set price of £12.50. So the table shows some of the costs. The first bit in the table is the cost for one person, and then this is the cost for 4 people. So obviously the cost of 4 people would be 4 times the cost of one person. So one person paying £20 times it by 4, that's where the 80 is coming from. So if the meals are £12.50 each, times that by 4, so they would have to pay £50 altogether for the 4 people. Then after that, if you add up the 80 and the 50 and take it from the 242, that leaves £112 between the 4 people for the tickets. So do 112 divided by the 4 people to get that it's £28 for one ticket, and that's what they were looking for. Okay, the other way that you could do it is just to take the total cost for 4 people and divide it by 4. I don't think I've totaled that up right. I haven't. I've divided it by 2. So that number's there isn't right. You could do 242 divided by 4 and then make these numbers here total up, and then you would get £28 for your ticket that way. Number 15, the stem and leaf diagram shows the ages and years of some members of a golf club. How many members' ages are recorded. So that's just wanting you to count how many numbers there actually are in the stem and leaf diagram. So just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So 21 numbers in the table. How many members are older than 36? So there's 35 in the table, so 36 would be everything beyond that point. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 people that are older than 36. The range of the ages, that's the biggest, take away the smallest. So 76 take away 13. So 76 take away 13 would get you 63. Then what is the median age? The median is the middle number whenever you put them in order. They're already in order up here in the stem and leaf diagram, so you could use it and do the stroking out method. But sometimes when people do this, they make a mistake and they don't realise that they've made a mistake. They think they're right and they go on ahead. So if you want to do it with stroking it out, that's fine. But if you've got time, I would go back and write all the numbers out and then just go in like that to see which one's in the middle. So 42 should be the number in the middle there. Number 16 is just to do with you typing something into your calculator. If you know how to use the fraction button, that's probably the easiest way to do it. If not, type in the top and then divide it by the bottom. And you might need to use brackets as well to separate the top from the bottom, or else do the top and press equals and then divide by what's on the bottom. Either way, you should be getting that number there in your calculator. Then it asks you to round it to one decimal place. That means they want you to keep one number after the decimal point. So you cut it off after the naught, but the naught actually goes up to 1 because you've got the 5 after it, so 9.1. Then 16b, again just using your calculator, 4.6 cubed. If you don't know where the cubed button is in your calculator, you could do 4.6 times 4.6 times 4.6, and then the square root looks like that. So the square root of 1278, type it into your calculator and you should get that answer. And I would just leave it as it is, just write the whole thing out. 16c, the cube of a number is the same as the square of a number. What number could it be? It could only be the number 1. It's because 1 cubed gets you 1 and 1 squared gets you 1. It doesn't work for any other number like that. Number 17. Kelly has some tins that weigh p kilograms and some that weigh q kilograms, and she finds the following combinations of tins balance the weights shown on the scales. So p, p and p balance up with 12, so that means that each of them would have to be 4. So 3p equals 12 means that p would be equal to 4. And then over here, if p is equal to 4, 4 and 4 over there would total up to 8. And then take that off the 14 would leave you with 6 for the 2 q's, which means that each q would have to be 3. Down here I've done it just using a wee bit of algebra. I set up an equation using 2q plus 2p equals 14, and then put p equal to 4 in there and use substitution, and then 14 take away 8 would get you 6 for the 2q, and then q is equal to 3, but you don't have to do it that way. 18a. Find the volume of a cuboid with edges 2, 4 and 5. So there's a cuboid drawn out there, and your volume, you can either do length times breadth times height, or else you can do cross section area times length. So either way you're multiplying the 5, the 4 and the 2 all together to get you 40. It doesn't matter which formula you use. This one here only works for cuboids, but the cross section area times length will work for all of your prisms. Then part B, a cube has a volume of 216. What is the length of one edge of the cube? So a cube means that all the 3 sides have to be the same length, the length and the breadth and the height. So you could try doing 2 times 2 times 2, 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times 4 times 4 and so on until you get that 6 times 6 times 6 is the one that will get you 216. Or you can use your cube root button, which is the reverse of your volume of a cube. It's the reverse of your cube numbers, and that will get you 6 as well. Number 19. An item is bought for £26 and sold for a 34% profit. So that means they make 34% on what they paid. So what is the selling price of it? So 34% of £26, there's loads of different ways that you could find it. You could take the 26 and divide it by 100 and then times it by 34, or do 34 divided by 100 times it by 36, or some people use the percentage button on their calculator. It doesn't really matter which way you do it, just so long as you find a method that works for you and stick to it. So 34% of £26, I would do it by finding 1% first. not 10%, 10% won't make it any easier. So 1% would be 0.26, divide that by 100 would get you 1%. And then times it by 34 would get you £8.84. And then this is a profit that they're making, so you would need to do 26 add on £8.84 to get £34.84 is the price that they sold it at. Number 20. In the diagram, AB is parallel to CD, so that top line is parallel to the bottom line. Work out the value of X. I've got the Z drawn on here, you don't need it until the second bit of the question. So 20 part A is just using this straight line down here at the bottom. So straight lines total up to 180. So do 180 take away 105, and that will leave you with 75 for these angles here. And you've got X and 2X, so that's 3X altogether. So if you do 75 divided by 3, that will tell you what each X is. So X is 25, which means 2X would be double that, so 2X would be 50. Then in part B, it asks you to work out the value of Y and give a reason for your answer. So that's why I've drawn the Z shape in there using your parallel lines. The first bit of the question didn't use the parallel line at all. So if you draw in an alternate Z shape, that means the angles inside the Z are the same, which means Y is the same as 2X. And I just said a minute ago there that 2X was equal to 50. So that means that Y is equal to 50. And the reason that you give is just alternate angles. It's not enough for you just to put Z shape in there, you need to use the word alternate. The other one, the F shape one, is the corresponding one. Then number 21, Pam wants to collect information about the total number of hours of homework the students in her class did last week. Design a suitable questionnaire or suitable question she could use to find out this information, and remember to include response boxes. So you could just ask, how many hours of homework did you do last week? You don't need to make it any more complicated than that. And then the response section, I would group the hours together, and it'll mean that you'll not have too many boxes. So 0 to 5, and then make sure the next one doesn't start as 5. The next one would be 6 to 10, and then make sure that one doesn't start at 10, you jump to 11. You don't want 10 there and 10 there, or 5 there and 5 there. And then the last one would be over 15. So you mightn't have grouped them together like that. You might have grouped them together in sets of 2 or something like that. But you need to make sure that you've definitely got a 0 for the people who don't revise at all, and that you've got an over 15 for the people who revise more hours than what you've given in the other boxes. Number 22, a restaurant offers a family discount, and the Taylor family have a meal at this restaurant. Before the discount, the meal costs £140. And then after the discount it's only £112, and they want you to work out what percentage it's been discounted by. Work out the percentage discount. So you need to work out first of all how much money it's actually being discounted by, how much it's gone down by. So 140 take away 112 means that it's gone down by £28. They've saved £28 with this discount, and they want you to get that as a percentage. So you need to put it into a fraction first of all, with 140 on the bottom because that was the original amount, and then do 28 divided by 140 times by 100 to get that they saved 20%. There is a formula that goes with this if you can remember it. Change over start times 100. So what it changed by was £28. What it was at the start was £140, and then divide them and times by 100 to get that they saved 20% with this discount. Number 23, ship leaves Port A and travels 9 kilometres on a bearing of 120 to point B, and then it says that it leaves B and travels up to C, and then they want you to work out the journey from C back to A, and they want you to work out 2 things, the distance and the bearing. So the distance, first of all, you would be using your ruler. So just measure the distance from A to C. It is slightly over 14, but you need to be quite accurate with this. So it's 14.2. That allow you to be sort of 1 or 2 millimetres out, but not any more than that. They wouldn't allow it if you rounded it right up to 14. So an easy scale to use, just each centimetre represents 1 kilometre in real life. So 14.2 kilometres in real life then. So 14.2 centimetres in the map would be 14.2 kilometres in real life. Then the bearing. whenever it's at C, the bearing is going from north round clockwise until it reaches the line that's going towards port A. So for you to go clockwise, it means that you have to measure this big angle. You can't just measure that one. That would be you going anti-clockwise, and bearings have to go clockwise. So from north round to south would be 180, and then measure the extra bit with your protractor would be an extra 67, and then add those two together would be 247. So bearings are angles measured from north, and you go clockwise. Number 24. Reflect shape S in the line y equals x. So you need to know where the line y equals x is. It's just the diagonal line going through the points 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5 and so on. Because y equals x means that the y coordinate is equal to the x coordinate. They're always the same the whole way along that line. So I would use tracing paper for this. Diagonal lines of symmetry are awkward. If you are able to look at that and flip it over along that line on your own and get it in the right place, then that's fine. But I would always check with tracing paper. So you trace out the shape and trace out the line of symmetry, and then turn the shape over, turn the tracing paper over, flip it upside down because that will get you your mirror image, and then set the line back on top of the line again. But you need to be careful where you're setting it, because all of that looks like the line is going back on top of the line. So you need to make sure, I drew it from 0, 0, so you need to make sure that you line it up with 0, 0 again, just to make sure that your shape is definitely landing in the right place. Then part B says translate the shape S by the vector -3, -4. Translate just means move it about, but -3, -4 has got nothing to do with the coordinate -3, -4. It's got nothing to do with that point at all. Coordinates are written down going across your page, whereas vectors are going down. These vectors are pretty much just giving you directions of what way to move the shape. So the first number is whether you're moving it forwards or backwards. Because it's negative here, it means you move it backwards. And the bottom number is whether you move it up or down. So because it's a negative number here, you move it down. So we want to move it back 3, down 4. So you would then go to your rectangle and pick any corner on the rectangle at all. I've picked the bottom left corner, and move it back 1, 2, 3 squares and down 1, 2, 3, 4, and then draw it out back down at the bottom left corner again. It doesn't matter which corner you pick. You could pick the top right and move it 1, 2, 3 back and 1, 2, 3, 4 down, and it ends up sitting on the top left. So it doesn't matter which corner you pick. Just be careful whenever you're drawing it back out that you pick the corner that you pick, that you make sure that it's in the right place in the picture. So if you pick the bottom left to move, make sure it's at the bottom left. If you pick the top right, make sure it's at the top right. Number 25. Jake goes fishing on Saturdays in the fishing season, and he records the weight of every fish he catches. So he has put the weights into groups here, going from 0 to 1 kilograms right the way down to 4 to 5 kilograms, and the frequency is how many fish he caught. You're asked first of all to write down the modal class. Modal is just another name for mode, the most popular one, and class is group, just another word for group. So they want you to work out the most popular group for the weight. So the most popular one would be the one with the most fish in it, which would be the one with the highest frequency. So if you go to the frequency column, the highest frequency there is 17, and that was in the 1 to 2 group. So your modal class then would be 1 to 2. Then part B says calculate an estimate of the mean weight of the fish. The mean is just the MAD. So mean from a frequency table, you need to get it into your head that you do MAD. And because there's groups here, you actually do a double MAD. So the other M at the start is for your midpoint. So you go to the midpoint of the group. Between 0 and 1, the midpoint is 0.5. Between 1 and 2, it's 1.5, and so on. Once you get your midpoint, then you can start following the multiply, add, divide. So you multiply going across, 10 by 0.5 to get you 5, 17 by 1.5 to get you 25.5, and so on, multiply going across. After that then, you add up the totals, then you add up the frequency, You never add up the midpoint, and you can't add up the groups. So add up the total to tell you the total weight of all the fish, and then add up the frequency to tell you how many fish there were, because what you're really wanting here is the average weight of the fish, which would be the total weight of all the fish divided by how many fish there are. So the last step for you to do then is 76 divided by 40 to get that the average weight or the mean weight is 1.9. Then question 26, work out the value of a half x minus 3y whenever x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 2. So if x is 10 then, this is half of x, so half of 10 would get you 5. And then whenever y is 2, 3y would be 3 2's, which will get you 6. And then 5 take away 6 will get you minus 2. This is substitution. Make sure that whenever you replace the x with a 10, that you don't go putting an x back in there. And once you replace the y with a 2, you don't go putting a y back in. Your answer will end up just as a number. There won't be any x's or y's. That's the whole point of substitution. The letters disappear. Part B, write down the value of A, B, C whenever A is 10, B is 2 and C is not. A, B, C just means A times B times C. If they wanted you to add them together, they would have put an adding sign. If they want you to take them away, they put in a take away sign. If they want you to divide, it'll look like a fraction. Whenever there's nothing there, when there's no symbol there, they want you to multiply. So 10 times 2 would get you 20, but then this naught at the end, 20 times naught, will make your answer naught, not 20. This is in a calculator paper, so just make sure that you actually check and use your calculator, because I know a lot of people would have done this question with doing 10 times 2 is 20 and 20 times naught gets you 20. You can't afford to lose 1 mark with something like that when you've got your calculator. The next one then, solve w plus 4 equals 10. That just means what plus 4 gets you 10. So do 10 take away the 4 will get you 6. So w is equal to 6. The next one, solve this. When you've got x's on both sides, you need to get all of the x's onto the first side and all of the numbers onto the second side. So you move 3x over and take it off. So 7x take away 3x gets you 4x. And then you move the minus 2 over there and add it on to get you 10. So 4x equals 10. So for you to go from 4x to x, you divide by 4. So bring the 4 over there, 10 divided by 4 will get you 2.5. Whenever you're solving, it's all to do with you working out what number the letter is actually worth. And to work it out, the easiest way for you to do it is just to move stuff from side to side. And when you move it from side to side, the signs change. Pluses and minuses swap, multiplying and dividing swaps. So the last one is another solving one. This means 3y plus 11 all divided by 4 is equal to 2. So bring your divide by 4 over there and change it into times by 4, which turns the 2 into 8. And then you've still got the 3y plus 11. After that then, to rearrange it, I would bring the plus 11 over here and take it off. So 8 take away 11 is minus 3. So if 3y equals minus 3, that means that y would have to be minus 1. If that negative wasn't there, you would be doing 3 1's get you 3. So with this being a negative, it just changes your answer into -1 rather than just 1. Last question then, number 27. The table shows the year and gender of a sample of 50 pupils. So these numbers in here total up to 50. What percentage of the sample is in year 11? So go to year 11 and total up the number of pupils. So 6 plus 6 will get you 12. And it's out of 50, but they want it as a percentage, so you would need to double the top and double the bottom, so that will turn it into 24% then. A pupil from the sample is picked at random. What is the probability that the pupil is in year 8? So you need to work out how many people are in year 8 first of all. So year 8 is 5 plus 5, so that's 10 out of 50, so that's 1/5. So your probability would just be a fraction, and it's said in its simplest form, so make sure you've written it down as 1/5 at the end. The last bit, there are 1,500 pupils in the school altogether. Use the table to estimate the number of boys in the school. So the sample that they took was only out of 50 rather than out of the 1,500. So use the table to estimate the number of boys in the school You need to work out how many boys there are first of all, and they have done that for you. Number of boys has been totaled up to 22, but that 22 is out of a sample of 50. So 22 out of 50, and you want it out of 1,500. So you can do times the bottom by 30 and times the top by 30 will get you 660. If you don't see to do that, another way that you could finish that off is just to do 22 divided by 50, and then if you were wanting it as a percentage, you'd times by 100. If you want it out of 80, you would times by 80. So if you want it out of 1,500, times by 1,500, and that will get you 660 as well. And that's the end of that paper.